Hello everyone, welcome again to another truly simple solution demonstration of FlatRatePro and FlatRateGo. Today we're going to be setting our data sources and showing you how to upload FlatRatePro and FlatRateGo to GoSyncHost so they are available for, in FlatRatePro it would be for other computers on your network, either in your office or out of your office, and for FlatRateGo to get it onto your mobile devices, iPad and iPhone. So let's get started. We'll go ahead and go to Preferences, and then we want to go to the Administration tab and Data Sources. Now here you'll see that these are the host files that are actually shared on a host, which would be your computer hosting it, or if you have a FileMaker hosting service that you have uploaded these files to or plan to, this is where you would put the domain name or IP address to access those. So what we want to do is set just on these three files. The other two you just leave alone. So we just double click, and we always leave that top reference alone, and we just need to add in where it says yourserver.com. If you're on a Mac, you can double click this. If you're on a Windows, you would select it just between the hashes, and then you'll type in the IP address that you can read our section on that, but you want it to be an accessible IP address outside of your network, unless you're just working locally in your office for your computers. In this case, we're on FlatRatePro. You could put a local IP address for the computer that is going to host the data, and that computer IP address you want it to be static so it doesn't change. You'll want to look at how to set that so it is fixed. Sometimes what that is called a reservation list in your router. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just type in 1. And then you want to select what you've typed so you can paste it the other places. And then you say OK. And paste it in on the other, on Media and GoSyncHost. Now I've obscured the domain name I'm putting because I don't want to have other people accessing my server. It would confuse things as well. So you want to put your domain name or IP address. Now again, on domain names, if you are trying to host from your own computer and you have your ISP provides you with a dynamic IP address, that means it changes. And if you set this up with an IP address that's going to change, that means you're not going to be able to get to your data when it does change. So we recommend using a dynamic name server like dyn.dns. There's a reference in the help file on this. And then you can have it where it's one name, and you type that domain name, and it points to your IP address even when it changes. So when that's done, you can click Test Connections. It just sort of is a double check to make sure it's actually connecting to the files, and you should get this, and then say OK. And now we're done with FlatRatePro settings. There's nothing else here to do other than go ahead and upload it to GoSyncHost. FlatRatePro is a smaller file because it's just an interface. The data and media are what's hosted, so it's pretty quick when it saves to GoSyncHost. And then we want to go ahead and click over to FlatRateGo, and we're going to repeat the process, except FlatRateGo there's a little bit less. There's only this one file, and because we still have it on our clipboard, we can just paste it in and say OK. And then on this one you leave GoSyncLocal and FlatRateGo alone. They don't need to be changed, and they need to be there for it to work properly on your mobile device. And you say OK. Oh, by the way, to get to this screen, if you if you just opened it, opened FlatRateGo without logging in with your admin password that you set up when you originally installed it, then you won't be able to get here. So what you do is you go to scripts menu, and you say relog in, and you'll want to log in with the username that you set up, like that. And you can see here when you originally set it up, you would have added a user account name that would be under admin. And once you have that, when you log in with that, you'll be able to get to this preferences window like that. If you incidentally log in directly, if you hold, if you're on a Macintosh, hold the Option key when you open the file, then you'll get the dialog to log directly in with that username. Otherwise, once you open it, you come up here and say relog in. If you're on Windows, you would hold the Shift key when you open FlatRateGo, and it'll bring you straight to here when you log in with your admin manager password. So we've set that, but before we finish, we have to go to GoSyncLocal and set the same thing. It's really important not to miss that step, because GoSyncLocal does all the syncing. And the quickest way to get to that, rather than looking through the file menu, is just go ahead and run a sync. And that's going to open GoSyncLocal over here on the right. And then you just click it and go on the layout menu to settings. And then we go to data sources again. And then we've got the same three: data, media, and GoSyncHost. We go in and we double click or select the text and paste in our domain. On those three files only. Again, leaving FlatRateGo and GoSyncLocal alone. They need to be there to function. And then you say OK, and you can test connections. And you can see we've got, so this file actually connects to GoSyncHost, data, media, and it connects to FlatRateGo, even though we didn't paste that in, because it's always going to be in the same folder as GoSyncLocal. And then it's very important to upload this. It's got the steps here, but you don't want to miss this. You upload this file to GoSyncHost, and that way when we go back to FlatRateGo over here, okay, you can see here we've got deployment number 4 and the build version of GoSyncLocal that's installed into FlatRateGo. And we have deployment number 8 and version 1.04 here. So what happens when we deploy to GoSyncHost, it's going to check, and if this version here is less than what we just uploaded, which you can see here is deployment number 5, same build version but deployment 5, it will replace this file. And so we just need to deploy to GoSyncHost. If you haven't reloaded, meaning setting up your task that what you've changed in FlatRatePro, if you've done a lot of changes in vendors, item pricing, markup changes, stuff like that in FlatRatePro, you'll definitely want to reload it so that it gets your price book is what you're going to deploy. But if you're just trying to initially set it up, then you can, well, yeah, you get an empty file here, so you can tell that I've loaded it because I've got 2100 tasks, and this is the initial test stuff, 5196 items, and 82 vendors. Clients will be empty. Contexts, it'll pick up because those are related to the vendors, and quotes and invoices will be empty unless I've done some test data. So we'll go back to preferences, and so it's already been loaded. Then all we do is click deploy, and then I'm going to pause the video while it loads. It takes a little longer. And you can see here it immediately loaded the GoSyncLocal, saved it to FlatRateGo. Well, there it is. It already shows deployment number 5. You can see that. That means it's got the new GoSyncLocal file. And we say OK. then it starts saving FlatRateGo to GoSyncHost, which is where I'll pause the video because this takes a little longer. Okay, I've brought it back on. It should be finishing up in a second here. Here we go. So it's successfully uploaded, and now you can see we've got deployment number 9 on GoSyncHost, and you can open GoSyncHost and see that you've got these. Now we're working in FileMaker Pro, so it automatically just finds FlatRatePro, which is not FlatRateGo, and you can see here it's found 1 of 3. So you can actually click this to see the other files, and you can see we've got 2. This is the omitted ones, 2 of 3. GoSyncLocal, we've got deployment 5, and we click the arrow to go to next record, and there's FlatRateGo deployment number 9. So they're there, they're ready, and in the next video we'll show you how to download FlatRateGo to your mobile device. And thank you for viewing, and we look forward to seeing you again. Cheers.